known to the local campus network, but the Oracle handshaking is going to take some additional. It took 4 people to get this 3-word message to come up. 1 guy from TNS on campus and 3 people from the Science Help Desk. Actually 4 people from the Science Help Desk. Andre, Bob, Matt, and Diana. So now the ball is more or less in my court. I'm the one who's trying to get it to talk to Rohan, although I might have to get some cooperation with the Rohan guy. I don't know yet. But whatever. So, one alternative that I suggested was, download Oracle. Yay! And it installs pretty well on most Windows powers or laptops. What we're going to try to do now is to get to this terminal online thing. I'll try typing it. It's the one I emailed you about. So it's www.tutorials. Not very good spelling. Tutorials.
Still not right.
I like tutorials, I guess. Or tutorials. Yeah, we'll just start again. Go away. Okay, so this is a site, and we got it right, that has various interpreters and all kinds of little educational tools on it. Not a lot of things specific to what we're doing, but they did have something on PLSQL, which I haven't looked at yet. Now what we want is Oracle _terminal, which might be what I've spelled. Oracle terminal online. .fit. Okay, that doesn't look bad. We'll try carriage return. That's it. Now, sometimes when I do this, I don't get those initial 3 lines, which are comment lines. And in that case, I either try again, but once in a while I've had success with the refresh button. And then it's shorter. Okay? All right. Anyway. The goal is to get that prompt. And again, sometimes you get the initial comment lines and it says, please wait. And after 5 hours you sort of give up. So then again you start over and do it doesn't always get you to the prompt side, but once you get to the prompt side, then you're in pretty good shape. Now, here's something that I haven't done in my various play dates with this thing. Let's try describing user constraints and see if it knows about that.
This is the first T.
Object user constraints does not exist, but it might if we spelled it right. And one of the things that this thing won't do is the up arrow key doesn't give you your previous command. So it's very annoying for someone who types like I do. Unless the planets are aligned properly, I can't type the word constraints. Oh, there it is. Remember, my estimate of, 17 or 18 columns, I think I said? Yeah? Yeah. I think I underestimated, but not by much. So like I said, the ones that I typically use are constraint name and constraint type. Search condition is important. Search condition will give you not nulls, according to my memory. So I usually do constraint name, constraint type, and search condition as the columns that I do select from on user constraints. All right. And then there are all those other columns, and I never wanted to know what they did or what they meant. All right, but I'm impressed with this little tool. It seems to have a very full-bodied SQL Plus interpreter back there. Right. It does this. I told you that there was a single field. It's called dummy, varchar 21. It's like any other table. They made it real. There it is. So the display for that for dummy is a D, and the value is X. Yay! Now you know more about Dual than you needed to know. Let's see. Let's try to do some of that again. All right. I'm not good at this thing, but we're going to do spool Fred because you can get spool to work. Now the fact that you can get spool to work means that you can do your next assignment on this tool, and all you have to do is figure out how to print out the spool file. All right. So okay. So spool Fred, and then we're going to describe Dual. And then I'm going to describe Dual because it's easy to type. It just makes the file a little longer. And then I'm going to say spool off. And then the question is, where did Fred go? I found he's always around somewhere. Okay, so I don't know exactly what project does. File, you can do directories and files, and it's a pretty good idea to do that. Since I theoretically made a file called fred.lst, I might save it just to be on the safe side, so that it doesn't tend to disappear. And then I found out that, if you do new directory, that's kind of good. And there's Fred. Hey! All right, so that's one way to do it. And as a further test, it does have the correct extension. If I double click on this, it will show me the file. And then I can do anything I want with this. I can cut and paste it into an editor on my machine. I can run it to my printer. So the point is that this very handy Oracle SQL Plus interpreter is going to give us a simple way to do assignments. And it's going to give me a way to demonstrate things live. Let's see. Let's play a little bit more then. We can go back to the terminal by clicking here, and then we get back into terminal mode. And let's see. What I would like to do is something fancier. try this. I need to make that window smaller. Is it smaller? Or did I make it bigger? That's my Rohan screen. We'll shrink that. I want my computer, and fortunately I've got that. Removable disk drive. Okay, I brought this with me from my office just now. I have a CS514 there. I have done your first assignment many times. MBubba02.sql has one create table and 15 insert intos. So, you know, I can try to copy that. And then I can shrink this out of the way. And now we go back to here. And let's try create file. And what it did is it created a file with an SQL suffix, kind of convenient because that's what we want to do. And then it puts it over here on a sort of a kind of a menu bar above the interpreter window. New file.sql, bless. Okay, and oh, please say paste. After I did all that good work.
You should be able to upload the file.
Yep. We'll try that. At home I was able to just paste. That was nice. Select a directory where file will be uploaded. Root.
Click OK first.
Okay. And then do it again. All right. So, any local drive, well, we'll see what it will find.
Choose file.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of navigation it lets us do. Removable disk. Here we go. CS514. We'll see if it can really find it in there. We'll try. My goal is M. There we go. Upload. And there it is. All right. So I had done upload before, and that worked. Sometimes I luck out and I can do copy and paste. All right. So anyway, the code is here. Now there's not a lot of explanation of what to do. But we got the code. Yay. So what I discovered by experimentation, and somewhere there's a tutorial on this stuff. Let's see. You gonna let me get to the bottom of this? There we go. I got to where I need to be. All right, so this is now the file new file, and usually this works for me. I can say start new file, which is what you're supposed to say in Oracle. But I find that in these contexts, I like to do set echo on first. So we'll go for the whole 9 yards here. And then I'm going to do school Sam, because Sam is easy to spell. And then I'm going to do start new file. All right, it's not starting.
New file was empty, wasn't it?
New file.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a file called this. Okay, fine. Start. So we're going to start MBubba02. See, I was trying to cut and paste it in a new file. In my mind, that's where it was. And there we go. And now we can do describe imp. Yay. So it's in there. Set pages works. So everything works. We can do the select star. And there we go. I even have 15 rows. I don't think I did it at the start of the semester. But I've repaired things. All right. This would be ugly, wouldn't it? If I could spell constraints correctly. Remember how many columns there were? All right. So it did find a lot of constraints. 450 rows. Yay. Well, bless its heart. That's probably, and obviously one would need to tailor this down. There is often a field called owner. That's going to be your schema name. So if you wanted to restrict it to your constraints, you could say where owner or user, one of those fields will allow you to say, and then equals, and then, except that on this you don't know who you are. I don't think it allows us to save anything permanently or create users. So this part you would have trouble doing. Not everything is easy. That's a lot of crap. Let's say spool off. We were spooling to Sam, and the fact that I say spool off doesn't cause him to pop up over here in the terminal window, which I can make go away and come back. But there's Sam. All right, so maybe he was here. So anyway, so I have all those 415 lines in Sam, which is a mess. Not what I wanted. Delete file. Do you really want to delete this? Rohan does that to me because I've trained it. And then I can say, yeah, get rid of Sam. He's too big. All right. So not everything that I might want you to do is going to work here, but almost everything that I might want you to do is going to work here. So I will make sure you get an assignment by, I don't know, tomorrow at noon or something. What I can't do conveniently, I still want things on the machine in my office. I want to show you how to do the rainfall table. And we can talk about that because it's important. Maybe we should do that for a while just for fun. But anyway, so the terminal thing works. I find that if a file doesn't show up over here, that clicking this is one way to sort of try to get it there. The refresh button over here in the terminal window will make files visible which are temporarily hidden sometimes from me. All right. So anyway, there is at least one way that will always work, and that's to do the upload file thing from your local operating system. I guarantee you the cut and paste worked for me at times. And it's nice to see that the spool thing works, because that's still the best way to show that you've done an assignment. All right, so good enough, and we're in business here. I didn't find a print button. I think this is probably to save a file abstractly. When I clicked on it, nothing much happened to me, so yeah, whatever. But okay. You can download a file. So once you highlight a file, you should be able to download it back to your machine. That is, yeah, right. Download, upload. We tried upload. Download should work too. And then you can print. Well, all right. So, let me try the upload thing again. Thank you very much. Okay. And now we look around for a file again. And it might take, say, it was good. I was hoping it would do that. It took me back to the same place. But this doesn't contain what I want. So I won't demonstrate this live, but we'll go look at it in the Rohan window. There's the Rohan window. Check on my directory. Good enough. I think this is the right name. Sequence.sql. Please be there. Yay! All right. The idea of a sequence, if you remember, oh here, so many little bits and pieces of the puzzle. Views and tables are special cases of objects. Sequence is another special case of an object. Index is an object. Trigger is an object. Everything's an object. All right? And if everything is working correctly, and this is a really good interpreter, so you'll probably be able to make it work, what you can do is select star from objects where username equals, that's what you would normally do, but in this case it will be everything in your session. All right, and so anyway, there's another meta table called user objects. So it's easy to make guesses about meta tables. User underscore catalog, user underscore constraints, user underscore tables, user underscore views. All right, and there's a meta table for everything. All right, and the catch-all, the one that gets them all, is user objects. So if you ask to see user objects, you'll get everything you've ever done that's still online, except for constraints. Constraints are not objects. All right. So the idea of a sequence is this. When, and there's some device for doing this, when a student gets, does an application to San Diego State, they're given a red ID, and that red ID has to be created, and it has to be unique, and something has to create it. Now you don't want a human being say, show me all 50,000 red IDs, and I'll look through them and I'll pick one that's different. Okay? That would not be good. So the idea of establishing a sequence is to automate the selection of values for a field, typically the unique ID field. So that's what sequences are for. Though they are ways to automate the selection of UIDs. Okay, now everything that you can create, like I said, you could drop. So, you know, when I run this, I drop the sequence dep002 dep0 first. Now, this could be easier than it is. This is a name, of course, that I chose. I chose the name for the sequence. My intention is to use this for creating new department numbers. That's my goal. And department numbers are, you know, set up to be numeric, unlike ImpNos, which happen to be set up to be a varchar, but they could have been chosen to be numeric too. All right. Now, here's the trick about dep0, dep002 dep0. I can use this sequence on the employee table if I want to. So the name is just a device so that I can drop it. Since I intended it to generate department numbers in the department table, that was the name I gave it. But the reality is that a sequence can be used anywhere you feel like using it. Goody, goody. Now we get to the sequence. Syntax for creation. All right, now I've tried to show you the major fields, optional included, that you use when creating a sequence. All right, and these are not comma separated, so it's sufficient to have them carriage returns separated the way I did. I'm going to increment by 10. Our current department numbers are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I like that 0 mod 10 thing. All right, so I don't want a department named 63. So I'm going to increment by 10. And that's optional. The default, I've never tried it, but I'll bet you a huge amount of money, or a Pepsi, that the default is to increment by 1. All right. Minimum value is 10. That's because, yeah, that's the department I started with. I'm going to start with 60. Okay? Because I've already used 10 through 50. All right. Maximum value is optional. Yeah. You know, if by accident somebody goes crazy and does this in a loop, we're going to cut it off at 200. If that's not commented out. Right now the field is commented out. No cache. In the interest of speed, if you're generating new rows in a table many times per day, then Oracle is willing to cache the next so many numbers in the sequence and retrieve them faster, or so they say. All right? Now, I don't want, that fancy bells and whistles like that, so I just said no cache. Okay? Which is the way I go to dinner with people. I don't bring cash or credit cards. Right? What's the ad on alligator arms? Ad right now. All right. So no cycle. The idea of a cycle is that the maximum value is 200, and I generate the next number in the sequence. It will go back and try 10. If 10 already exists, I don't know if I get static or not. I've never played with the no cycle thing, but the no cycle says, once you hit 200, you're dead. The sequence is dead. You can't do it again. But if I have cycle set, then it will rotate back. Now, that can be appropriate for a situation where people are moving in and out of a table on a regular basis. You might stay in there for 2 weeks, and then we automatically take you out to make room for somebody else. There are tables like that, and then for tables like that, cycle would be very appropriate. The average table doesn't use cycles. Okay, so that's how I create a sequence for the department table. And I've done that, and I can use it optionally if I want to use it. Okay?
Question?
Yes.
Are the lines max value and no cache commented out? What are the hyphens?
What about what?
The hyphens before max value and no cache?
Yeah, those are comment lines, and those work on any Oracle.
Okay.
So I'm saying I am not setting no cache. I'm not setting max value. I'm just showing you those options.
Okay.
Okay. So at this point, you have a pretty good idea of the typical options. There are other commands for which I've deliberately not shown you options, and in many cases because I don't know what they are. Okay. Now you can go online and you can get BNF for update set, and you will find that there are a lot of options I haven't talked about. Okay, that's because they're virtually never used. All right, so we don't try to teach everything. Select star from user sequences. Like I said, there's a meta table for every kind of object. The sequence is an object, so there's a user sequences. The question is, how do we use a sequence once we've created it? And so here we go. So I'm going to insert somebody, and this is how I invoke the sequence. The first field in the department table is DepNode. That's the field in which I want to use this sequence called DepBubba02 DepNode. All right. So I give the name of the sequence, and then the usual dot, and then I say I want the next value in this sequence. Well, if I did this from scratch, which is the way I would normally demonstrate this, then 50 is the catchers, and so the next one would be 60. This would put a 60 for DepNode right in this position. All right, and then I'm going to create a snacks department, and the motto "Keep on trucking," because that's how you get the snacks in. Okay, these people don't go to dinner. All right. And then what I would do, if I were live, I would do select star from DepBubba02, and you would see that there are now 6 rows, and that the new department had number 60. All right. And then I would get rid of it, just so I would restore my department table to what it should be for all 6 weeks. All right. And then here's the other bell and whistle that you can use with the sequence. DepBubba02 DepNode.curval instead of nextval. And curval will tell you the most recently generated number. So if I ran this, it would say 60. Either that or it shows you the next one available, not in the cache. It's either 60 or 70. I'll email you this code, of course, and then you can play with it and run it either on your laptop with Oracle on it, or against the simulator that we're playing with, which is hopefully waiting for us and not timing us out the way Rohan would. Okay. Now what we're trying to do here is sort of coast to the end of what we're going to do on regular SQL, and we are getting close to the end. Yeah, thank goodness. Another kind of object is called an index. Okay? So I'm showing you syntax to create an index. I don't generally put this on a homework assignment. I rarely test it, but maybe this is a special summer. All right. So again, naming convention for an index. Since I don't create a lot of indexes in this course, my naming convention is maybe not very good. But I want to create an index on ename and empbubba02, and I'm using the underscore MDX because we're used to 2 underscores in names that I do. If I were less lazy, I would call it INDEX, right? Okay. So again, if I create it with a name, then I can say drop index and repeat that name, and away it goes. So it's good to have a naming convention for just about everything. Otherwise, Oracle will generate this automatic crap. Okay, for some things. But I need a name for the index. All right, now maybe I don't need one. I probably don't need one. Create index on empbubba02 ename. Logically, I don't need to have a name. So I'm creating an index on ename, and the question is, why did I do that, and what's it good for? All right. Here's the notion that lies behind indexes. And I picked ename because it's probably a good choice. I very often remember my employee's last name, well, sorta, rather than his employee number 735, right? I can do all 15 names I can't do all 15 employee numbers. That's why I keep using Lasorda's. I can only remember his probably. Okay. So, and for that reason, people who are reading things from the database would often say, select star from Bubba 02, where ename equals quote Lasorda unquote. Now, if I had 300,000 employees, because I'm a worldwide company, all right, it could take a long time to find Lasorda. Okay? How could you speed that up? Well, you could have a special file somewhere, which was just enames, and I could organize that file if I were a DBA with a hash table, but Oracle is willing to do that kind of thing for us. And the DBA can probably tell Oracle how to implement an index. Okay? I'm just an amateur DBA, but someone who was good at it could probably have some input to Oracle how to do that. But what you could think of is, okay, at a minimum, if I create an index on ename, Oracle will create a special file for ename in alphabetical order, because ours are not. And then if nothing else, I could do a binary search on that file of names. And I could return the answer for Lasorda much faster than if I had to do a linear search on the actual rows. So that's what an index is for. The purpose of an index is to speed up searches for frequently searched columns. Yes?
When you create a primary key, does that creates the index as well, right?
Yes, it does.
What about the foreign keys?
I don't think it's automatic. That's my bias. But yeah, he's correct. When you create a primary key, Oracle, I don't know about MySQL, automatically creates an index on the primary key based on the assumption that it will be often searched. That's the only automatic index creation for a normal table. Okay? So you don't have to create an index on your primary keys. All right. So if I, ename would be my, favorite candidate for creating an index for the 4 tables that we've got. That's probably, a very frequently searched entry. And you're going to have far more employees than departments, so it makes more sense to create an index on employee names than it does on department names. Unless you're at one of those companies where you have as many departments as employees. Okay, everybody's a department unto himself. All right, any questions about indexes? The syntax is pretty easy. The important thing on a test would be to explain why you might want to create an index. That's what I want you to know, rather than the syntax. But it's okay to know both. All right, questions? He was slightly first.
So once you set your index to take advantage of the faster searching, do you have to do anything, or
No.
it's just
It's just
that's
all done in the background.
Okay.
Yes.
May you quickly explain what curveball generates?
I would if I were sure I was right.
Oh.
It's either going to tell you the last sequence number generated or the next one that will be generated. whichever you think current value means. But the idea is current value. And that has, to me, two possible interpretations. That's the advantage of, running this code is, yeah, and then I could say, like I knew it all along. Oh, yeah, it's that. The truth is that, if you catch me 3 days after I taught that, I wouldn't remember whether or not it was the most recently assigned value or the next one to be assigned. All right. Okay. Back to our terminal friend. Let's get rid of this again. I think I'm done with him. Mr. Terminal friend. Yeah, for now, go away. Cancel, and we're back. It should be patient and wait for us, more so than Rohan. Let's try some things now. We've got an emp table, so let's make sure the syntax works. Rename empbubba02 to emps. Describe emps. All right. So the name empbubba02 should now be gone. Yeah, what you talking about, buddy? Okay, so it doesn't know that name anymore. And then there's the other one that I told you about, which is create synonym. Synonym created, describe emp bubba02, and now we've got it back. All right? So now you've seen both rename and synonym.
For rename, is there zero downtime with that?
Was what?
Say you have like a table in production, you want to do something else to that table, you want to keep it up the whole time.
Yeah, in other words, from a concurrency point of view, what's going on? I'm not sure. Right. But we could address that issue, and maybe we'll get to that tonight. Now that I've got this interpreter that I can do things on. I told you before that what Oracle does is when you create a session, because you have create session permission, that you begin an unnamed transaction. And that transaction is the next so many DML statements that you type. Reads are free. But DMLs are saved as a transaction in memory. That's the way it's supposed to go. And then, as one of the means of eliminating contention between multiple people using the same table, when I do something, possibly by typing the word commit, that causes commitment, okay? It's not true that guys can't bring themselves to type commit, no matter what you ladies think. So once you commit, then you get a lock on the table in question, or tables, or more accurately, necessary parts of the table, and then other people can't access that part of the table until you're done with that update, with that set of updates, with that set of DMLs, lowercase update. And then somebody else who's reading the table, the idea is they're supposed to get a consistent view of the table. Either what it looks like before you did your 20 updates, or what the table looks like after you do your 20 updates and your lock is released. So when you're doing a read, you're supposed to get a consistent point of view of the table. If airlines didn't do that, you could end up with 6 people thinking they were in the same seat. Okay, because that stuff moves around a lot. So some situations you have to be pretty fussy about concurrency, or you'll screw things up. Because there are hundreds and hundreds of people who can assign a seat on a given flight of the airline, and there's a database handling that, and that database wants to make sure that it doesn't screw that up. All right. So those are all of the objects that I teach about, with one exception, and that's view. Goody goody. All right. So let's take our little interpreter pen and see if we can do something with a view. Create view. Let's call it imp view as, everything I'm doing is an experiment because I haven't tried any of these before on the interpreter, but I'm getting to have a lot of faith in it. Typing doesn't look too bad. I want to select 3 columns from the employee table, which we certainly have, and I want to select everybody but the pitchers. Okay? So they're in a club of their own. And we're going to create this view. Probably. View created. All right. So view is the only kind of object we haven't illustrated, and now we've illustrated it. Yay. All right, select star. Let's do set pages. What do we call it? Imp view. And there we go. So this is what we referred to as the external layer when we were doing buzzwords. And this allows some employees in the company to look at pieces of the employee table, the pieces that they're authorized to look at based on their job description. All right? They can't learn everything about everybody. All right. And now we're going to make an interesting experiment. Update imp view, set sale equal to 100,000. Somebody who's not a pitcher, where e name equals Lasorda. All right, now we'll inspect my typing. The goal is to update the view and change Lasorda's salary. And so we'll hit this and see if it lets me do this. Can I do DML on a view? And and it says 0 rows updated, because I spelled it badly. And boy, I wish the up arrow worked. All right, we'll try it again. Update emp view set sale equal to 22222, where ename, we're gonna stick with Lasorda, but this time we'll try to spell his name right. That wasn't a very good looking semicolon. Yay! I haven't tried the word edit on this. It works nicely on Rohan, but here I don't know if it gets me to their editor or not. You will notice that there's an editor. If things work the way they're supposed to, I could type the word edit, and I should get into the editor on the most recent SQL statement that I typed. That's the way it should work. Anyway, here we go with the carriage return again. You guys are looking at this. Look okay? Going once, going twice. 0 rows updated. This time it looks pretty good to me. I don't think I have any restrictions here.
Lasorda's not on the list.
Where what?
Lasorda's not in the view.
Oh, but he wasn't a pitcher. Okay. And there's the up arrow that I don't have. I don't know why. Oh, he was a pitcher at one time. All right, we'll try it again. We'll pick someone that I can see is in the table. Mays. Update emp view set sal equal to, it's hard to give him a raise, but we'll go with the same number again. Where ename, because it's shorter to type and easier, I have a better chance. Ename equals Mays. Semicolon.
Oh, that's 2 million. Yeah.
Okay, we'll take it. We'll take a shot at this one. Hey, I got a constraint. Boy, I wish the up arrow worked. It doesn't in my normal domain. It doesn't on this interpreter.
He has a max.
But it's an important point, so I'll persevere. Ename. Mays. Okay. Once more, without much feeling. I'm getting numb. 1 row updated. Now, that's the interesting thing, and the reason I wanted to persevere. Logic and intuition might suggest that it's just a view. Should I be allowed to change the base actual table when my status is so weak that I'm only allowed to see part of the table? And I could easily understand if I wasn't authorized to do this. But you are authorized to do this with a view. And that's important to realize when you authorize someone to have a view. Because, I think it's pretty unclear whether or not I should have been able, or whether I should have been allowed to do this. All right, so let's do it. And there's Mr. Mays. His salary just shrunk from $240,000 to $555,000. Okay. Well, I'm the boss, and the little lady said she wanted to go to Aruba for a week. Sorry, Willie. Say hey. Okay. Here's the cure. and I'm just gonna show you the words. Oracle understands that sometimes when you create a view, it is only for the purpose of reading, not writing. And so at the end of create view, you can add these 3 words. So you can say create view, emp view, and select, from emp where, whatever, with read only. And then I wouldn't have been able to do the update set. I couldn't do any DMLs. All right. So that's an extremely important thing about views in the external layer. Very often, when you create a view for somebody, it's to give them read privilege and not write privilege. Now, I don't know what all I can do. Let me make another little experiment here, fun for me. I'm not sure about the word order here, but I think this is right. Well, it would be if I could get a space in there. It wants it the other way around, but at least it lets me do it. So grant select on emp. I had the clauses in the wrong order. 2, and this could be like, ST29, but public really means public. This is world readable, and the grant succeeded. So you can play with grant and revoke on this simulator. I didn't know that till just now. That's cool. I like it. Now, we don't have users with special names, so I'm not sure what we're doing here. I think the public is very small in this case. But be that as it may, that's the syntax to make a table that is in your schema readable to the entire outside world. They're going to have some sort of Oracle account, but it makes it available to everybody else on that particular instance. Okay, so it gives us one concrete example of authorization, and it's not just the DBAs that can do authorization. You own a table if it's in your schema, and then you can control who has access to it. So it can be to Joe, Sue, and Mary, your buddies, or the other people on your team. And okay, and then later on you can use revoke instead of grant, and it's probably revoke from. I would hope that the preposition changes. Okay. All right. So so now we've covered views, and the usual drop view, et cetera, et cetera. Select from user views. You can there's the meta table user views exist, and now I think I'm sort of done with SQL. I'm not really. We haven't done triggers yet, but triggers are complicated and I don't want to do them yet. I want to do, and triggers are saved. And until we get used to the idea of saving things, I save triggers for later. But we can do something with transactions. I'm going to try the syntax. To see if it buys this. Semicolon. one, maybe, I don't remember. Commit. Commit complete. Okay. So commit is a key word, and as I explained, what that does is say, all right, take anything I've done so far and make it permanent. Now, what does it mean to make a view permanent? I probably made emp view permanent, whatever that means. It'll be gone tomorrow because it's not remembering anything really. Okay. What does it say when you make a view? See, if I said create table emp view as select, I would get an actual honest to goodness table, and that table would exist on a disk. When you say create view, that's not my image of what happens. When I create view, a view emp view, I think what it probably saves is some version of my description. See, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because if I have 20 different views that's mostly a table, boy, that would be a lot of redundancy, and redundancy is a database enemy. Okay? So if I make 20 different views of emp Bubba 02, I don't want 20 different tables living on a disk. So what I would do if I were Oracle, when I said create view, is I would save the description of the words following create view as. Okay? And then everybody said, when somebody said select star from emp view 1, I would go look up my description, and I would then show them what that says to show. All right? That makes sense, right? Okay. So the odds are overwhelmingly good that Oracle does something like that when you create a view. It's different. It's truly different from creating a table. All right. I'm trying to spell views. Describe user views. Oh, not so bad. User constraints was worse. So there's a view name, and there's a view type. I didn't know there were types. Read only is varchar 1. Okay, so that's probably sort of Boolean. Now I've only got one view that I've created, so let's try view name and text and read only. Probably an underscore. View name, text. I'm missing a comma. Because I don't know what text is going to be. I'm just curious. Read only. From user views. Let's see if they're really keeping this table in the background like good kids.
Users misspelled.
Yeah, the user doesn't look too good. We'll see if the arrow, none of the arrow keys work. You'll grow to resent that. Okay, better. Okay, view name text. Emp view is the name. This is the creation code. I was hoping that's what text was going to be. Yay! With read only, N for no. All right, so it's Boolean, but it's going to say Y or N. Well, that was kind of fun. I had a good time. And it did enable us to see one of those metatables in action. So that was a good thing to do, I think. All right. Let's play with transactions. It's only 8:40. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do after the next break, by the way. But I'm gonna try to get all my SQL fetishes out of the way, except for trigger, before we go there. I might do PLSQL, or I might do some design stuff. And of course, it matters for Thursday, so, but I'm not gonna let you vote. Okay, so I wanna do, let's see. Well, so here's the theory. And right. Do I actually want to do some of this? We could try for some simple syntax. Update emp.
You misspelled update.
I sure did. I sort of wanted to start a new session. I think I'll save this for after the break. It will be better if I start a new session. So let's break now for 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll do transaction after we come back. And by then I'll have figured out whether or not I want to do PLSQL